Hello guys, and welcome back to another Hardspace Shipbreaker How To Shipbreaker guide. Today we're going to be doing the grade 3 medium mackerel. The grade 3 ships come either in medium or hard version. We're going to start with the medium. I'll do a hard video later. And we're going to be doing the cargo variant today. So a few things to note with this. For the medium versions of the mackerels for grade 3s, you don't need utility keys. And for the hard versions, you do and don't need the utility keys. There's a way to get around the utility key. So first thing you're going to do with these ships is remove the antennas off the sides, and then this time we're not going to cut the engines off as like a secondary thing. We have to go into the ship first because the engines are mounted on the inside of the ship, so you can't actually cut them off yet. So we got to go ahead and find the airlock and hop in there. And then another thing to note with this ship, while we're hopping through the airlock right now, is that there's a fuel cutoff on the engines here. So in order to prevent the essentially fuel system from spilling fuel everywhere, you gotta hit your fuel cutoff in order to stop that. Now, same thing as last time, we're gonna go depressurize first, and then we're gonna immediately open the door. And then also, same thing with the last ship, we're gonna start cutting off the floor as the first thing. And we're going to cut the cockpit off again to slowly let that thing drift away from the ship so that we get a little bit of clearance. We can hop into the side panels, I guess, or hop into behind those so we can cut some more joints and get rid of the outer panels of the ship later down the line. So cockpit's off. We continue cutting all the floor panels off. Accidentally hit a crate there. Gotta be careful where you're cutting. I was trying to go quickly, so I wasn't too careful. I'm going to cut the back off. Make sure you hit that lever right there. That, I guess that breaks the connection between the back of the ship and the engine that's back there. Hitting that lever right now just saves some time later on. I'm going to take this floor, throw it away, and then we're going to take the reactor out and throw the reactor down into the barge. And one other thing, even if you do set those crates on fire, you can still throw them in the barge for profit. There you go, so that's nearly all the top panels off. With those last two cuts, that's all the top panels off. Next thing you're going to want to do is cut those joints on the cargo hatch like we did on the last ship. And you take the cargo hatch off, and then one thing to note when you're force pushing objects, you gotta aim at like part of the object and then aim towards like the deposit area. So I tried lining up the wall of that little thing while I was aiming at the deposit area to see if I could get it to go straight. Didn't quite go straight, but that's okay. And then we're going to use our grapple gun to push this top hatch down onto the barge. You could use a tether, but I think it's a waste of a tether. It's easy enough to drag it around with the gun. And for some reason that panel wasn't coming out. I'm not sure why. I think it may have been a glitch or something. That tends to happen. See here, I checked if there's any cut joints. Sometimes that happens with ships. It might be a bug, I'm not sure yet. But they have connections that you can't really see, like sometimes on the larger ships, the geckos, which I'll be doing later on, those heat sinks that are on there, on occasion those will act as a component holding the ship together, so it will allow you to pull panels off without breaking those components off. So now we're going to get rid of the floors and throw the crates down into the barge to clear up the inside of the ship.
Account credit applied.
Now that is gone, one of the new tricks I like doing is I like using a tether between the cockpit and the HAB module to drag that cockpit off. That allows us an easier time to get into the crawl space between the two. Because originally, for the first ship I showed you guys, I just used to push it out of the way using my head, but it doesn't work too well, and this is just a more efficient way of doing it. And then what I'm doing right here is I'm trying to stop the thing from spinning. I cut the tether, pressing the V key, and then I'm trying to stop the spinning right here so that I can pull things out nicely. And then one thing to note, I think it also may be a bug, but these panels, see how they orientate themselves immediately after I pull them off? How they try and orientate themselves flat or kind of in a weird orientation compared to what they're pulled off at. I think that's a bug at the moment. On occasion that causes things to glitch out, and fuel canisters, if you're pulling those off for instance, sometimes those will try and orientate to a weird position and then start hitting things and blow up. So I'd say that's something to be aware of, but you can't really prevent it, and I think it's just a bug at the moment, so just have to deal with that. So once you got most of the stuff out of the cockpit, you're gonna go ahead and cut those side panels off, and then I like to use 2 tethers to pull them into the processing area. That normally ensures that they make it there without falling apart. And right there is something you can do to be a little bit more efficient with your time, possibly, is if you can aim it right, you can cut 2 joints at once using your, I guess, the wide cutting attachment. Then go ahead and throw the coolant tanks off. Careful with that. That one didn't quite make it onto the barge that I just threw because I wasn't aiming right. That second one, I'm not sure why it blew up. Might have glitched or something, I don't know. See right there, I'm pretty sure I used 1 tether on that side panel, so it didn't make it in. So that's just something you're going to want to watch out for. That's why I like to use 2 tethers. I'm going to go ahead and use a lot of tethers to pull those 2 in, just to make sure they get over there. Kind of a waste of tethers. You can probably use a lot less. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hop in the side here, and cut these side panels off. And something you're going to want to watch for is looking for those engines. Those engines can be forward mounted or they can be mounted back here. So these engines in this instance were mounted back here. It's something you can look for on the outside of the ship. I forgot to, so I just had to look on the inside. Next thing you're going to want to do is cut the fuel switch and then pull the fuel tank off, because like I said, that fuel tank is one of those mystery objects that holds the ship together, but you wouldn't think it does. I'm getting a little caught up by the thruster right there, but we made our way away from it. And then one of the things I like to do with these ships, I don't cut off those outer panels just because it is a waste, it adds more objects I need to throw into the processor. So it's easier just to drag those objects as they are into the processor and not cut those sides off. It saves time and tethers.
Salvage secured. Account credit applied.
So that's all done on that side. I'm gonna grab some oxygen here just to refill real quick. And then we're going to go ahead and go through the other side and start cutting all the joints there. And one of the tricks is, the nice tricks, you can go over the top of the airlock module, I guess, section, to get to the back. And you can do it with most of the Mackerel ships. Even on the heavy versions, or hard versions, there's a little less space up there, but you can still crawl through there, because there's a pipe going through. It uses a lot, or takes a lot of space up, but you can still fit through, just barely. So again, making sure that fuel tank came off a little second ago, so that that module right there, or the outer shell, wasn't connected, because that fuel tank will hold the outer shell to the ship. It's not very good, and I think they'll fix that possibly later on, but I'm not sure. Again, just flew back over here to make sure that latch was flipped. Should have remembered that I flipped it earlier, but I was just double checking. Next, we're going to cut these joints. Again, careful where you use your cutter, because I accidentally cut through the back thruster panel right here. So now that's a furnace piece. Normally you'll throw that in the processor, but because I accidentally cut through it, you have to, it's junk now, so you have to throw it in the furnace. Then we're going to slide out this engine module, throw it onto the barge, and that's this back section cleared. Normally, that switch on there, it counts as a mechanical part that you could use, but you can't pull it off, so you'd have to throw that whole back section down into the barge in order to get that mechanical piece. I don't think it's worth the profit, because it's more profitable to throw that whole nanocarbon section in the back. And then, as you just saw, we threw off the power cell, I believe, down into the barge. I'm not sure why, but it doesn't look like the work order picked that up. So that can happen on occasion also. Sometimes something will go wrong where the barge won't actually pick up the material and it won't pass off the work order. And that's just something you have to deal with on occasion. Next, we're going to pull that back panel over to the processing area and throw it in the processor. So that's this inner hull, mostly stripped out of materials and stuff. Right now I'm trying to look for the power cell, because I saw it wasn't in the barge, or the work order wasn't complete. I don't know why that happened, so I guess we'll just have to use the mechanical panels. These levers are all mechanical to finish off the mechanical work order. And then one thing to note is the heavy mackerels, they're nice to use for work orders. These ships are just nice and they're easy to take apart in a quick amount of time. You can take them apart faster than the hard versions, but the hard versions have more work orders. So if you're just trying to knock out work orders when you're trying to just grind out ranks and certifications, then the hard mackerel is a good option for that. Don't know why I keep saying heavy, it's hard, is what I mean. Then we're going to go ahead and cut that joint there. just because I want to get this airlock out. It's not the easiest thing to get out. There's different ways you can cut it up, but I just choose to do it this method. I was trying to cut through here, but that wasn't really working. I don't know why. I think those bars up there can't get cut. So I tried to check if those joints were gone. Those bars are still holding the thing together. So I'm gonna, in a second here, see, I'm trying to cut that joint there. I'm not able to. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the joints in the back of the ship right here, because I know I can cut those. So it's a little bit of wasted material there, but there goes the airlock. And later on I will show you guys a more efficient way to get the airlock out of there. I figured out that later on after I had done this video or this recording, so there is a way to get all that aluminum out of the airlock.
Deposit accepted.
And go ahead and throw everything to the furnace and processors, and we're done with this salvage. And then one last thing I want to note is sometimes you'll find utility keys in these ships. I like to stockpile those because later on in the geckos they're nice to have. There's a way to get around it that I'll show you later on in the heavy mackerel. You can essentially cauterize the pipe, aka like not let the I don't know, plasma or fuel or whatever is connecting the thrusters on the gecko come out if you use the pinpoint on the cutter instead of using the like line cutter. So I'll go over that more in my next video when I do the hard mackerel, but that's it for now. So if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, possibly consider subscribing. It's free. You can unsubscribe if you don't like this channel later on. It's up to you. Next time we'll probably be going over the Mackerel Heavy version. It's still a grade 3 ship, and after that we'll start getting into the geckos. Thank you for watching.